going on, YouTube? 2025 is coming up. Fighting games are my favorite genre. Among some other genres, I really like I really like a good RPG some days, and I really like a good FPS other days. But fighting games are the one I want to get into the flow state the most with in 2025, because I just value games that let me go offline and still play the same game offline or online in a similar fashion. So Mahjong is a good one, board games like that. Slay the Spire is another good one. It's a card game, but it's also got a tabletop version. You can play with the homies at the party or whatever. I don't know what party you're playing Slay the Spire at, but that's a pretty good party. You need to invite me to that one. But fighting games, just the idea of going to majors, even later in life, I like the idea of going to majors because they're very quick to go to. They're worth going back every year just so you can see some people and you can really reconnect with the core of the scene. I don't mind buying stuff there. If you're going to buy a fight stick, it's kind of fun to do it at a major. I really like a couple of the games, but some of the games are kind of mid. Matter of fact, a lot of the games these days are kind of mid, so we're going to discuss which ones and why really quickly. So it's 2025 coming up. I grabbed games that were either featured at EVO, so they're coming up at EVO Japan, or most likely going to be named at EVO 2025 in Vegas. So they're going to be... These are mostly... Basically, you can find everything here at Combo Breaker. Everything here is going to be available at Combo Breaker, which is the biggest, most comprehensive fighting game tournament. But also, this is including all of the major releases that will be coming out or will have active development going into next year. I think the only one that is... the only one on here that doesn't have active development is one of the early access games that I like. So we'll see. Wait, did I put it on here? No, Punch Planet isn't on here. Okay, so I took that off. Never mind. Let's continue. So I'm going to start with just one of the best of the best. Third Strike is everlasting, and for good reason. It's just one of the most stylish. It's one of the most stylish Street Fighters. Its art style stands the test of time better than any Street Fighter except maybe 2, but that is the big Street Fighter. It's just got that more modern flow. It's way tougher to get somebody to play Super Turbo than it is to get them to play this, because this is broken, but in a more salvageable way going into the newer years, because the game system is so open with parries and the tier list being kind of really top heavy but still really, friendly to get into. You can have a good time playing a basic character in this game. I play Ryu, for example, or Sean or Alex. Like, I played a lot of shitty characters but still had a great time. You can play it on Fightcade, you can play it through Capcom Fight Collection, and basically anywhere you're seeing a major, there's going to be some Third Strike going on. So this has a presence offline and on to this day. Fightcade, you've got a lot of options with this game. Also, I think it's got one of the best, if not the best, Street Fighter rosters of all time. I think the only holes in the roster are it's lacking some mainstays like Sagat and Bison, but the characters that are in this game that aren't in any other games are still super special. It's so fun to see Q. It's so fun to see Oro. It's really fun to see Dudley played well. It's awesome to see Hugo played well. Red Perry 720s, just incredible. So this all around, I'm judging these games based on a few factors. I think the main criteria are, is it a good spectator game? Is it fun to pick up and play now as a newbie? Does it have depth for experienced players? And does the art style stand up? Like, is this game fun to look at long time? And I think Third Strike is everlasting. I think this is one of those games that's always going to be around, just like Marvel, just a little bit. Like, Marvel heads are still playing Marvel to this day, just like, I wouldn't say I think Skullgirls is close. Actually, I should have put Skullgirls on this list, but I'm pretty sure they're... Nah, I probably should have put Skullgirls on the list. I'll worry about that later, fuck it. You know what? Skullgirls is still actively developed, so I think I fucked up. I should add this and do this again. Damn it. I forgot to add Skullgirls. Shit. Well, tell you what. I'm not going to include Skullgirls. Let's skip Skullgirls. Fuck this. I just forgot about it, but I don't really care enough to go back. It's too late for that. I'm just playing. So, next up, I would say Brawlhalla. I think this game's actually underrated because the value and the crossplay presented here, and the fact that the roster with all of the DLC and all of the guest character appearances, you can get some really crazy matchups in this game. You can have The Undertaker versus Hellboy, for God's sakes. You can't even do that in Mortal Kombat. But Brawlhalla is like the best of the best platform fighters, I think, just because it's so basic, but it's also so broad and so easy to get into. It's free to play. You can really just go and play it on any platform you want. It's on mobile. I can play on mobile and fight somebody on Steam, or I could fight somebody on their Switch. It's just got this undeniably great way in which, you know how League of Legends, you can play it on a toaster, so that's why everybody plays it still to this day, is it's so easy to run on a shit system. In a day and age where all these games are going on like Unreal Engine and these crazy graphical fidelity things, and then they chug, and it's just not the best. This is the opposite. Brawlhalla will run on any system, and you can just hang out and play. You can play it on your phone, for God's sakes, and have crossplay, which is wild to me. That's just fantastic. Imagine if Tekken was like that. I can't imagine that. So I think this game gets a lot of things right. I don't know enough about it to give it S. I don't think it's like everlasting, but I do know I've seen these guys at majors. I've seen the game being played, and it seems pretty great. I don't really see any faults with it. I just wish I knew more about it to definitively say it was S tier. I would just say from the small time I played with it, I said this game's actually way better than I expected, because the roster was huge, the guest characters were wild, and the devs and the players all seem to be having a great time. So I think this game doesn't get enough props. Brawlhalla is real good. Give it a solid A there. Capcom Fighting Collection 2. This is coming out, and this is going to have CVS 2, so this is automatically A tier. For a lot of the same reasons Brawlhalla is A tier, I think it has a lot of problems, like balance and things like that. But just in terms of gameplay and just having a fun time, you can have a fun time watching this, you can have a fun time playing this. It's going to have good netcode, most likely, coming out of the Fighting Jam, because Capcom's recent bunch of fighting games are fantastic netcode. So, with all those games packed into that thing, you're instantly just get a super value just by having CVS 2 alone. But all the rest of the stuff is just another, icing on the cake. And CVS 2 is just as good as it gets. It's a crazy good roster. The music is it wears on the ear after a while, but in terms of depth and just roster incredulity, just the amount of characters, the amount of grooves, the just so good, and so fun to mash in if you don't know what you're doing. It's one of the best pick up and play with your buddies games, because everybody's played a couple characters in that roster and they can mash if they don't know what they're doing. Then if you fight somebody good who knows roll cancels and things like that, it just becomes a whole different game. So it's got a lot of depth, it's got a great roster, and then it's got a whole bunch of other games packaged with it. So Capcom Fighting Collection's coming out this year. That's the second one, but you're going to want to get that. I know I'm getting that. I skipped the Marvel one. I like Marvel, but not enough to actually... I got Marvel vs. Capcom Beyond, but that's a different story. Okay. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. I'm actually putting this one in S tier for a few reasons. One, it's got the best graphical pop I've seen in a long time. I think this is the best looking fighting game I've seen in a while, which I thought about it and I was like, this is actually really, really good. Because in motion, it stuns you. I played the demo at EVO, and just the way the graphics pop off the screen, and they're only getting better, and the character designs have been good so far. The only ones that are boring are Kevin, because he basically looks the same, and just the new girl, Preacha. She's just, her base skin color looks terrible. Her alt color is way, way better. I think recolored Preacha is going to actually look pretty good in motion, but her base color sucks. But Fatal Fury, with the pop of the graphics, with the system it has going, with the slow-mo and the animations and the old-school SNK feel, and just a lot of old-school stuff, and the hit sparks, the graphics are incredible. I think they carry it really hard. We're going to see how the systems shake out, but it feels like some classic SNK on top of a whole bunch of Garu's like systems, in the sense of it has the TAP moves, but then they're called something else like HPK, I don't know. Heartbreak Kid. But everything about it just screams, this game's great, this game's great. I haven't seen anything bad about it thus far. Everything they're showing is fantastic. It's all going to depend on the execution. If it comes out and it's got problems with the matchmaking, or if it comes out and it's got some little Achilles heel injury, that just... SNK has a history of having these things completely side rail their games. So Sam Show was stuck on the Stadia. King of Fighters 15 was a great game, but the matchmaking didn't work, so it was really hard to pick up momentum with that game when you were just playing the same people over and over. And it's tough because it's a great game, but they're going to have to stick the landing because it's very easy to mess up and have a poor launch, as we're going to see from some other games. But from what I've seen so far, Fatal Fury, I'm super excited for this one. It comes out in April, so it got delayed a little bit. But I'm super excited for this one, and I can't wait to play it. I want to play Tazak, I want to play Terry, I want to play B. Jennett, I want to try Gato. He looks fantastic. I like the way Kevin looks, even though he looks very similar. Half the roster looks great so far. Marco, Rock. I'm cheesing with how incredible that looks. And it's been 20 years since the last game, so I'm a happy camper. Give me more of that. Next up, Dragon Ball FighterZ. I think this game's good, but it's very busted. And also, they just put that Dio mod in the game, so if you're one of those people that downloads it and can play it with your friends, that looks like a really sick mod. So I think DBZF is good just because of the strength of its roster, and they just added the rollback netcode, and on top of all that, it's just a dedicated community because Dragon Ball Z is just, it's Dragon Ball, so. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the game. I think I'll put it B, if anything. I'm just not a fan of games that I guess are a little too... No, you know what? No, I gotta give it its respect. Just because I don't play Brawlhalla doesn't mean I think it's not as good as this one. I would say Dragon Ball FighterZ is probably one of the best discount fighting games you can get if you haven't played this yet. It's very enjoyable to mash in. I think it's very easy to pick up as well. It's also fun to watch tournaments at some time. I think a lot of the older tournaments for that game are very evergreen, like what's his name versus Sonic Fox. It was a very, very good... This is where I wish there were people in the chat, but whatever. It was a very, very good Japanese player against Sonic Fox. Go 1? I think it was Go 1. Yes, but he had some of the best fighting game sets ever against Sonic Fox in this game, so that alone makes it a fantastic spectator game. You can go back and watch those. And there's a lot of fun to be had here. I think Lithero makes a lot of content for this game because he's a Marvel head, and then this game was just naturally fitting in the spot right after. So there's a lot to be said about this game that's good. It kind of had a shitty release. I'm not going to put it S just because it has a lot of silly things about it, like the flying animation when you launch somebody and just fly up like 10 feet in the air. And then also the rollback was bad. It had a lot of bugs to it. It's very jank at times. But roster's good. Game's good. Appreciated. This game, it's a goddamn tragedy because this game's great, but it does not have good netcode. I cannot give any games with bad netcode an A rating. That's just not how it goes. More than half of all gameplay with these games happens online now. Probably more than 80%. Like, offline fighting games do not happen as much as online fighting games. That's just the fact. So if your game has shit netcode, you start in the B tier. Besides the netcode, this game is fantastic. It's crazy. The roster's bananas. The characters are fantastic to look at. The graphics are snazzy. It's got all the JoJo's flair. It's got good music. JoJo's is fantastic. It's made for fighting games. It feels like it was made for fighting games. But then that netcode just sucks. It's just delay-based bullshit, just like it might as well be Street Fighter 4. Unmodded Street Fighter 4, which is not the kind of netcode you want to play on, trust me. So it's a real big disappointment because if this had rollback, we would be like, I think people would be playing this right now. That's how good this game is. And I think when they released it, they even said we have no plans to do rollback, which is crazy to me because the game is great. This game rules. The bullshit you can do, the craziness about it, there's the animations, everything pops off the screen. The style is out of this world. It's just so good. It's the same as Fatal Fury, but it's just got that. It's got that Achilles heel. It's got that horrible netcode. So how are you gonna convince somebody to play this if they can't play it online with you comfortably? If you live in California and I live in Massachusetts and we can't play, that's not a good fighting game. Simple as. So it gets a B just for being really, really good, but just bizarre, out of this world bad netcode, which is just not salvageable in 2025. Speaking of salvageable in 2025, King of Fighters 13. So this game is a problem because Global Match is the patch that's supposed to have rollback netcode, but it's not being done by Code Mystics, who are the very, very good devs who went back and gave a bunch of other old SNK games rollback netcode to re-release on Steam. So King of Fighters 13 is coming out by a different team, and there's a good chance it's a shitty port, and also too little too late, I'm afraid. If you already own the game, they still want you to pay $7 just to get this new version. And I'm not doing that for a game this old that doesn't even have Angel in it. I'm sorry, but I might play this I might grab this for $7 just so I can maybe play some Terry. and maybe do his trials in that game, just because it is still KOF 13 and it's a brilliant looking fighting game. It's probably the best sprite art ever put in video game form. So just for the artistic merits alone, I might grab it. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be a shitty port because the team who's working on it has not exactly got a good track record. So King of Fighters 13 does come out. The global match version does come out for PC in a couple months, but I feel like probably not worth your time unless you just haven't played KOF 13 at this point, in which case maybe you want to kick the tires. But I'm going to say in my eyes, if anything, it belongs here. But I'm going to give the dev team the benefit of the doubt. The game is not out yet, so I can't sit here and pass judgment when it hasn't dropped. King of Fighters 15. I would actually say this game is underrated. I would say this is probably the best old school game we have that's still a modern version of an old school system. What I mean by that is it's still King of Fighters. You're still doing short hops. You're still doing A, B, C, D buttons. You still got, Iori, you still got Kyo, you still got all these classic characters, and they're all doing a lot of the same stuff. But the meter system is like a better version of Street Fighter 6's, where it's not overwhelming with the new meter. It just kind of gives you more options with which to spend it. On top of old stuff like max cancels and things like that, it's giving you like EX moves and other ways to use your meter that don't rely on just meter cancels, but also just EX moves themselves. More powerful versions. The graphics look way better than they used to. The new characters look pretty good. And more than anything, it's stabilized, but the big problem keeping it out of S tier is it had a bunch of really rough things that happened at the launch. There was bad matchmaking. There was some issues with balance, but those got kind of... I don't know, I guess with KOF, with the patches they released, the meta was just always shifting. There was always characters that you wanted as an anchor. I think Terry was very, very good at the start of KOF 15. But just a great game. Just a great KOF. I'm trying to go back and play it to get ready for Fatal Fury because it's going to be a long break and I don't want to just play Terry in Street Fighter 6. So we will see. Virtua Fighter 5. I think Virtua Fighter 5 is... I think the fact that there's still such a dedicated community speaks for itself. I think this is much like Third Strike in that it is just evergreen, or ever gold, or whatever word you want to use, just absolute classic, because of the systems in the game being so dynamic. You can overcome a bad matchup by just raw gameplay and just being good at the rock, paper, scissors that happens in every small interaction, the Abare, the Nitaku. The more I'm reading about Virtua Fighter and the more I'm playing it, the more excited I get that Revo is coming out. And looks like it's going to be such a stunning It looks like it's going to be such a stunning game because it's still VF5, but it's launching us into VF6. So we're going to see what they're thinking with VF5 balance decisions. It seems like they lessened the heavyweight and the super heavyweight categories and kind of rearranged a lot of the weight classes to make combos a little easier and more consistent. The little changes they're making seem very good. And it seems like they give a crap about reserving or respecting, rather, the martial artist core of Virtua Fighter with 6. So I'm excited for 6, but I'm even more excited to go back and just replay this classic. I'll play some BRC now. Oh, I should play something without lyrics. Okay, so King of Fighters 13, Virtua Fighter 5, fantastic. I'm really excited to play that one. I really am. I feel as though the fact that it's so old school actually helps it more than anything, because the newer games these days are kind of tilted by all the new mechanics. There's overwhelming offense. The games are just kind of pushing you into just dying no matter what's going on. And Virtua Fighter 5 has high damage itself, but it does give you the tools to circumvent that high damage with, you know, certain moves being evadable and the throw mix being such a real thing. And you can't see the mix, you just gotta take it. The 50-50 guessing game with the throws on top of the hard Abare with certain moves interacting, because throws are always beaten by strikes, and then blocking is always guaranteed against strikes. So there's this there's this strong foundation of a lack of bullshit in Virtua Fighter 5, and the more I play it recently, the more I appreciate that. So I kind of like the game a lot. I put it solidly S tier because I can find very few faults with it. The biggest fault I can find with it is that the roster is a little bland. And that's not even really that true. I think there's a lot of great characters. I think it's really fun to see Sarah. It's really fun to see Shun-Di and Vanessa and Akira. A well-played Akira just looks like a demon. So if you see somebody who's doing all the Tatsuzanko like optimization and the guard breaks on a high level over in Japan, that is some amazing stuff to watch. It's like watching somebody play a really, really good Invoker in Dota 2. It's just so fun. It's just so enjoyable to see them do that thing. So I put this game solidly S tier. That's damn good. If you want to play fighting games in 2025, I heavily recommend Virtua Fighter 5 Revo because it's only going to be $15 on sale when it starts. And I think it's going to cost $20 base. So $20, rollback netcode, solid 3D fighting game that is probably better than Tekken in terms of non-bullshit gameplay. So I would put that way up there. Heavily recommend. Comes out in about a month. Slippy, GG. I don't like Smash that much, personally. I'm not a big platform fighter player. You gotta give it up to the Smash players. This is the best thing that ever happened to any online game that Nintendo just doesn't support. They just went above and beyond and made the best online thing of all time. Fucking incredible. Just the best. So I give it up to them. The replays, the ELO system, or whatever you do in the lobbies to just get into matches, this shit rocks. Heavily recommend. If you like Melee. I'm not a fan myself, but if you want to get on there, you want to play some Jigglypuff, you want to hit some rests, you want to hit some shines, you want to hit some neutral airs, go for it. Or up tilts, whatever you call them. I would recommend checking out Slippy. And it's just going to get better because Melee, I think that's like the main way you're going to play Melee besides actually going to an offline event. And it's just super, super good. Mortal Kombat 1. Trash. Trash. Sad trash. Just incredibly boring. Uninspired DLC. I saw Conan the Barbarian, just the animations are just super stiff. Everything about the game just screams WB mismanaged me. The outlook for the game isn't that big. It feels like WB is just going to crank out slop and they're going to turn this game into a Call of Duty version where it's just coming out every year. It's going to have a one-year cycle and then it's going to go right to the next one. I don't think the cameo system did the game a lot of favors. I think it gave them an excuse not to put characters people wanted in the base roster like Jax and some other cool characters. And the DLC didn't save it, just like Homelander and it just ugh. It's so sad too because I almost bought this, but I think if I had bought this just to play Reiko, I would be super disappointed and I would have felt like my money was super wasted because the story mode looked like shit. A lot of the roster looked like ass. They just don't look cool. There's no sex appeal. It's just all gore and violence. The gore and violence doesn't do much for me anymore. The best thing I can say about this game are the stages are stunning. The visuals aren't bad, but the realism effect with all the gore they have, to have the characters looking as realistic as they are, and then have the gore be as cartoonishly over the top as it is, it's not cool. I think the people that really enjoy that gore don't understand how uncanny it is, and not in a good way. I've never watched Mortal Kombat 1 and been like, yeah, nice metal, like it's a gore concert. I've always been like, ugh, that's gruesome. And like, not in a good way. So, nothing that Mortal Kombat 1 has shown me since its launch shows me that you're going to want to play this game. I think it's the worst game of last year. I think it's really sad because Mortal Kombat should be a much bigger franchise, and it still sells a ton of units. And it's just in the doldrums of being a shit game right now, so that's a solid D. Speaking of WB-owned properties, what the fuck happened to Multiverses? What the fuck happened to Multiverses? Hey, all those invisible people in the chat that I'm talking to, did anybody actually play this after that prize pool blew up in their face way back in year one? This game came out, everybody was playing it because the prize pool was crazy. Everybody was saying this game's the future, this game is this game is that, you want to be on my Multiverses duo squad. And it came out and what happened? Poof. Just like that, poof. Just gone. It is so over. It's never been more over with this game. And that's shocking. Not really. But it's shocking just to see how instant it was. It was a lot like It's like a delayed version of that game. What was that game I played that was terrible and just got axed? That was so unmemorable that it just died. What's up, MJ? How you doing? Good evening and happy New Year. What was that game that just came out? The space shooter game? It was like Overwatch, but it was ugly characters. It was trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I did a review for this game, and I can't remember the name. That's how forgettable it was. I'm trying to think of what it was. The game was on a spaceship. Whatever. That was Multiverses. It was delayed for like however long, then it came back and it just lost all steam right away. Marvel Rivals? Nah. I forget the name. I could go back to my YouTube channel and see it, but I'm not going to do that right now. All you need to know is Multiverses. You got to be really careful when you're buying a platform fighter, because we've got a couple platform fighters on here that are really, really good. One of them's a mod. One of them's just a complete basic game that's just a fan game. And one of them is just an absolute trash cash-in, which is Multiverses. I don't know if you ever tried that, but goddamn, that game is bad. Alright, next, Capcom Fighting Collection. I'm going to give this a solid A. Just because people love Marvel. This brought back Marvel in a great way, and I'm hoping that means that they're going to go back to the well with Marvel again. I wanted Multiverses to be great. I was at Combo Breaker when Multiverses was popping off with like a huge prize pool. I was just talking about it, and I was saying, everybody was saying this game was the future. Everybody was like, you want to be my duo partner? Did you see that prize pool? We got to get into this. And then just, oh man, Superman, everything was so loose. After Jason Voorhees came out, I remember just the attention for this game went from like a solid plateau to just 90-degree angle straight into the goddamn Marianas Trench. So, Multiverses, it's over. And I apologize. It's just WB right now. If you're a fan of anything WB owned, you want to pull that ripcord and you want to hit the escape hatch, and you better pray you got a parachute, because it's not looking good. Mortal Kombat is going to become Call of Duty style. They're going to crank out one of those every year, and they're going to be pretty goddamn similar to Mortal Kombat 1. I guarantee you that. Next up, the mod on here. This is Marvel vs. Combat Beyond. Marvel vs. Capcom Beyond. So this is the mod from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite that Maximilian bankrolled because he liked the game, and he was really sad to see Marvel's last game be this before they re-released the Marvel vs. Capcom collection for 2, which they were looking for years. But I played Infinite. No, I didn't play. I played Infinite at offline events just to try it, and I said, no fucking way I'm buying this because it looks so awful. But also, I played Beyond because I wanted to keep an open mind, and it was only $11, and I wanted to show Capcom that, hey, there is still a market for this. So I wanted to join that wave, and I said, okay, well, I'll try Beyond. I tried it for 2 or 3 days. I tried learning some characters. I tried learning a combo or 2. And I gotta tell you, I don't really see all the fuss. I don't think it did a whole lot to make the game better. I think despite the changes they made, and despite the game looking way more presentable and having way more, like the graphics being way less offensive, and the supers being better, and some of the balance changes being good, despite all that, I do feel like the game is way overrated. I think it's just the kind of game it is. This game where you're doing a cutscene combo, and then people go, well, that's, if you don't like cutscene combos, just play a different game. I'm like, I'm going to do that this year. That's exactly what I'm doing. So you guys have fun with your cutscene combo. I'm going to be over here trying to have some agency with my gameplay. I would like to do some Abare, please. I would like to have input into my demise. Even Stride gives you a burst, dude. Even Stride gives you a burst. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? I got to sit here and watch you play Virgil and Dante. It's just, I just lost all flavor for that type of game, if I'm honest. It is what it is. I'm feeling that kind of way about Tekken 8 as well, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact. Have you guys seen the trailer for that shit? I like Hunter x Hunter. It's one of the few animes where it was completely glazed by every anime fan I ever talked to, and then I went and gave the manga a read, and I said, oh, this is actually pretty good. It's actually, like, weird, but super good. Like, just the plot is interesting. I'm not sure which way we're going. The characters are funny, but also, like, visceral and violent. And then they said they're going to put out a video game, and I said, oh, shit, let me see what that's about. And it looks like the worst. It looks like a Wii era. It looks like it should have come out next to Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. It looks like that level of graphics, which is shocking. And it looks like very similar gameplay, too. It's just kind of just team-based, mash the buttons, auto-dial combo, ABCD, launch, ABCD, super, blah, blah, blah. It looks rough. So I'm not going to talk about it more than that, but I'm going to tell you, if you like Hunter x Hunter, if you're a diehard maybe, but if you're even, don't, wait and see. Wait and see. That's why it's at the bottom of D here. Because it could be a multiversus situation where it comes out like a wet fart, and then just nobody is playing it, and it's just the most niche of niche fighting games. I'm actually going to put Grand Blue Fantasy Versus in A tier, because this game deserves so much better than it got. This game deserves so much better than it got, but it is disregarded for a reason. MJ, if you're still in the chat, if you wanted Multiversus to succeed, I wanted Grand Blue Fantasy Rising to succeed. This game had such a great turnaround. It came out in such a bad state during COVID with the base version. And then they said we're going to put out a free-to-play version and a paid version with all the characters. We're going to put out a bunch of good DLC characters. We're going to make the game balance better. We're going to fix our problems like forward, L. We're going to fix this, we're going to fix that, and people still just go, it's boring. It's like, it's really not. And then they say, oh, but the game's so samey, the game is so... And I'm like, dude, it's really not. I'm playing it, and it's fantastic. And they go, well, it's too easy to do inputs. I'm like, well, you can just do the regular inputs. That's what I like about it. What's up, Sean Conroy? I haven't seen you for a while. Cheers. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you. I'm sipping on Boom Sauce and showing you guys the games I think that are going to be great in 2025. I played a lot of goddamn fighting games in the last 2 years. So I'm trying to show you what the good stuff is and what we're going to be playing next year. I know for a fact I'm going to be playing the shit out of some Virtua Fighter and some Fatal Fury. So they're up there. I can't play Third Strike. I'm too old for Third Strike. I'm too old to be going up against these Chun-Lis and Yuns, man. That ain't happening. I will fight a good Akira. I ain't going to fight a good Yun or a Chun-Li. Fuck that one-frame jab. Yeah, man, life is a rough one right now, but that's why we're optimizing. That's why we're here doing the tier list. We want to find out what's good, and I played everything here except obviously for the stuff that didn't come out yet, and I didn't really bother with Slippy because I'm not a Melee player. Everything else here, I tried, and some of them I sailed the high seas to play, like JoJo's, but worth it. I would say I think the biggest tragedy on this whole tier list right now is a tie between Grand Blue Fantasy Rising and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure R. I wanted to be good at Strive, but 2D isn't for me. Strive is a shit 2D, though, man. You can do so much better. You know why I think Strive is still booty butt cheeks? That stupid wall break mechanic. All this stuff they're showing with the gameplay, like, oh my god, look at this new combo route. Look how they lowered the damage, and I just watch, and then as soon as I watch somebody play that game at a high level, every round has some stupid mega wall carry through a wall break, and now we're doing La Vida Loca, just falling backwards like it's Mortal Kombat 9 and we're about to get impaled on a spike or something. Now we're on a new stage and the other guy's got even more advantage. It's shit. It is shit. So I don't blame you not for liking Strive. Don't base your love of 2D, or don't base your 2D skills on Strive. Strive is jank as fuck and it's not good. Also, you can just dodge matchups you don't want to play with that matchmaking, which is bullshit. If I wanted to, I can just never fight a Horong player to rank up in Tekken. You know how much of a bitch I would be? So it's awful. I think Multiversus was pretty bugging when they axed it for like a year or so. Yeah, there's a reason it's in D tier, man. That's the definition of a bag fumble. You can just mismanage a game so hardcore that even if the game's good, it's not going to come out well because you mistimed it. The best example I can use for that is Titanfall 2. When did Titanfall 2 came out? Didn't it come out right when like Battlefield 1 came out or something? You're done. You're done, son. It's over. Like I think Titanfall 2 came out when like a Call of Duty and Battlefield both came out in the same month. It's just like you're dead in the water. It's not going to work. You don't have that market share. Matter of fact, I think I'm correct in that. That's EA competing with itself, which is all kinds of regarded. Thanks for participating in the online beta. That shit was out of left field and everyone was confused. No, everyone, if you're confused, that's on you. I was not confused even a little bit, because as soon as you see any game being made, you know what the first thing I do these days? I look at the publisher. That's why I didn't buy Red Dead Redemption 2. I thought they want me to play some movie. I'll just watch a cutscene on YouTube. I didn't buy, there's a lot of EA games I skipped over because they fucked me with Anthem. Publisher. First thing you look at, the publisher. You go to Steam, you see the games they've released, and you see what the reviews are like. And then you say, okay, well, let me see if there's any trends here. If you had looked at WB and you look at the Mortal Kombat release, you look at the recent Batman IPs they've put together. I felt everybody was cheesing about Multiverses when it came out because of the prize pools. I was sitting there, I had my arms crossed. I got shit talked by multiple people that were just like, stop hating things you don't like. I'm just like, no, this game is going to go up in flames. I guarantee it, because it's WB. Watch them rug pull this fucking game. That's exactly what happened. I don't mean to say I told you so, but that's one of the few things I called clearly. When that game was about to come out, I said, what is this? And I said, oh, it's a Smash clone from who? WB? Oh, that's cool. We're going to put Ultra Instinct Shaggy to get all the normies, and then they're going to rug pull everybody. That's exactly what they did. Anywho, Rivals of Aether. S tier just because of the workshop. If you have not seen the workshop for Rivals of Aether, you need to go get that right now. Go check out the current Steam sale. I think Rivals of Aether is on sale for like $10 or something crazy. You can fight with Obama. I think they put an official version of Peppino from Pizza Tower in there. I think there's about a dozen fighting game characters. I think there's a bunch of official characters. They had a competition in Rivals of Aether to make a new character for Rivals of Aether 2, and they have one of the coolest characters I've ever seen in a platform fighter, La Reina, or whatever they're going to call her, the Bug Luchador. Looks cool as hell. So Rivals of Aether 1 is underrated gem for a platform fighter. Also, I like the style of it. It's very combo focused, and just there's something really good about the roster. There's something very unique about it. There's like a snake that's sitting in a mech. It's kind of cool looking. There's like a big Beetleborg bug dude that's like Crag. He's the stage character. He's throwing earth and everything. He's like, what's that character's name from? That's the character's name from Dota. Earthshaker? He does the big, his thing is he does the big line and big fisher or whatever it's called. He's in this game as Crag, stuff like that. Underrated gem of a game, Rivals of Aether, and it's going to have a sequel, so big recommend of this. Matter of fact, I'm going to put, since I played it so far, I think Rivals of Aether 2 is fantastic. I think if you want to play platform fighters in 2024, then you probably played this, and it's going to fully release, I think, at the end of 2025. So when this releases, it's going to have a full character creator just like Rivals of Aether, so they're going to put like the entirety of the Nintendo roster in this game. You realize that, right? There's going to be Solid Snake is going to exist, Sephiroth is going to exist, Cloud is going to exist. Once this game finishes, I'm putting in an A tier right now because I don't think that's going to be finished in 2025. But if you like platform fighters at all, you need to go check out Rivals of Aether and Rivals of Aether 2, because this second one especially, this is a sleeper hit. This is going to be, it's playable right now, well. Like, the netcode's good, the characters are good, the gameplay is fantastic, and people are really liking it. But also, once the character creator comes out, and once the custom tools come out and they fully release this, it's probably going to be the best platform fighter on the market. It's just going to swap the spot of this one over here, which has worse graphics. Because this has got full 3D graphics and everything. Fantastic, I applaud it. Street Fighter 6. Sadly, I'm putting this in B tier because of 3 reasons. 1, the goddamn post-launch support. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Capcom? Do you see the release schedule for this game? If you play Street Fighter, how many people just completely dropped this game and don't even talk about it? We're talking about Street Fighter 5 more than 6 because that's how boring 6 is. Even with the most recent balance patch, this game is completely dead in the fucking water, dude. Even with Mai coming out, it feels so dead in the water. Because after Mai, it's Elena. So right now we're waiting on Mai, which is probably another 2 or 3 months at the very least. So then you're going to have to wait for Elena, who's going to come in the summer. So we're going to be at EVO, and we're going to have to be waiting for the next season of this game to get announced while we're waiting for Elena to come out. And then God knows who's going to be in the next season. It could be great characters, could be bad characters, but that's a whole nother year. So you're going to have at least 1 more year of waiting to get to the point where there's going to be maybe interesting guest characters showing back up again. Maybe a Sagat will show up. Maybe we'll get a Dudley. Maybe we'll get an Abu. This game is so fucking bad. It's bad because they, first of all, they don't want to shake up the game. They really feel comfortable with Drive Rush. They love Drive Rush being everything. I don't like it at all. It's really easy for you to think that's cool, unless you've played the older generations of games that have a better back and forth. As somebody who's played every generation of Street Fighter, even the shitty ones, I've played the shitty ones. I think they're actually great. Like the Street Fighter EX series or the Alpha series, or even things like Street Fighter X Tekken and Street Fighter 4. I've played every single Street Fighter. The only Street Fighter I have not played extensively is Street Fighter 1 because it's trash. And everybody who's played it will tell you it's trash. But I've played every Street Fighter. I've played every EX. I can tell you that the time that Street Fighter went off the fucking rails was right when 4 came out. I liked 4, but I wish 4 was more like Alpha. I think Alpha 3 and Alpha 2, in between those two Street Fighter games, the perfect Street Fighter was in between there. 3 was just a little too broken. 2 was almost there, but it didn't have the roster. And then 3, it was right there. So now we have 6, which went completely the wrong way. It's got all these long-ass cutscenes. It's got all this lack of it's got the easiest gameplay. It's so easy just to murder people. It completely took away a lot of creativity from the game by just forcing certain optimized combos. And it just made everything about this meter glorification rather than the tightness of the back-and-forth neutral. So it feels like just an extension. It feels like Street Fighter V if it didn't completely suck. And also, let's be real. If Street Fighter VI had a better roster and a better original soundtrack, it would be 10 times better. But there are so many good things missing from that game. The main two things I can think of are cool characters and a good soundtrack. Can you imagine if Street Fighter 6 had like the best soundtrack in the FGC right now? If it had like a Tekken 5 level or Third Strike level soundtrack, if they went out and paid a bunch of really good artists, or they did some really cool shit where they like hired a bunch of people and actually put some fucking effort into the soundtrack, can you imagine how much more palatable the game would be? If we could all be like, oh man, the Drive Rush system sucks, but man, I love listening to that soundtrack. No, it's boring. Most people who play Street Fighter 6 have their own music on, because listening to the game's actual soundtrack, it is the worst soundtrack in Street Fighter history, which is saying something. This is Street Fighter 6. Do you have any idea how many Street Fighters there have been? Do you have any idea how hard it is to make a soundtrack this bad for a game that looks this good? It's shocking. So I think Street Fighter 6 is actually overrated. I think the fact that it's Street Fighter, I think it's much like Mortal Kombat. The IP itself is completely carrying the game. So I think this game is the definition of mid. I think it has some things going for it, like the guest characters are cool. I like the idea of Mai and Terry, but they just take away from the base roster. But the Drive Rush and the homogenization of the offensive system and the overabundance of offense with the lackluster defense. By lackluster defense, I don't necessarily mean defense is bad. I mean defense is lame. It's lame to watch. How many people like perfect parry as is? Say perfect parry is cool. I love pressing a button for parry. I love having to have an extra button on my stick for parry. I think right here you see the biggest difference in the game. In Third Strike, parry is a thing they give you that is independent of meter, so they let you do it. Even if you're burnt out, which it doesn't have, you just have super meter. This game wants you to play within the system. This game wants to restrict you in the system just so you die quicker. Which Fatal Fury is doing in a better way, I think. But Street Fighter 6 this game feels so overrated, and I think that it's just a similar case of Tekken 8, which we'll talk about, in that it is just such a big disappointment, but people don't want to acknowledge that because it's one of the big four. I think the only game that gets shit talked about it enough, or like gets the appropriate amount of shit talk, or people talking just people talking down about the game, is Mortal Kombat 1. Anybody who plays Mortal Kombat 1 isn't happy. Mortal Kombat fans will be the first people to tell you that Mortal Kombat 1 sucks a fat, hairy penis. And then they'll tell you in detail why it does compared to the last 5 games. It's like the worst out of the last 4. Street Fighter 6, everybody who's playing Street Fighter 6, well, as soon as you go to their stream, they'll try to pretend they're having fun. They'll try to talk about all the good things the game does. They'll talk about how bad every other Street Fighter will. They'll never talk about what good things Street Fighter 6 does, because there aren't many. There aren't many things that Street Fighter 6 does well. It's just competent. That's why I think it's the definition of mid. It is a solid C. It's not a C-, it's not a C+, it's not anything good, it's not anything bad. It is firmly in the middle, and that is why it fails, because an IP that strong should not have a game that mid. Street Fighter V was bad. Street Fighter 6 is the definition of mid, for a multitude of reasons. The main 3 reasons I think it sucks, and I think it's probably not going to be worth your time in 2025, the release schedule and the battle passes, that's a slap in the face. The fact that they spent all this goddamn development time making these stupid-ass World Tour cosmetics is a slap in the fucking face. Because you can't use them during Ranked. They don't give you costumes. Terry and fucking Bison still don't have a 3rd costume. So what are we doing here? I just gotta sit here and stare at the same... Like, there's no excitement. And they want to market this game as a full-service game. I mean, as a live service game. So the Capcom developers think that you, the player, who goes to tournaments and things like that, yeah, you probably boot up World Tour and you go spend some money. No. There's whales that spend the money on the battle passes, and then there's the people that actually play the game and grind rank to get in a master and fight it out. Or trying to get legend and actually duking it out and want to go to tournaments and compete and get into Capcom Pro Tour. There's no support for them. There's no costumes. There's very infrequent battle patches. It's so disappointing. What's also asked about 6 is the amount of Avatar stuff. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about it here. Just, it's terrible. It's where is your development team focusing its time? And right now, the thing that gets the most updates in Street Fighter 6 is the shitty Battle Pass cosmetics and World Tour, which you can completely skip, and most players that actually play the game do. If you play Street Fighter 6 long term, you're most likely playing Ranked Q, which does not use Battle Pass customs. And we're sitting here, this game is supposed to look... The game's visuals are its biggest strength. Even if you don't like the style much, you can say the game pops, it's visually interesting, it's maybe too visually interesting, it's too flashy, it's too big with the big effects, but that's been a problem since Street Fighter 4. But then you're telling those players that play the most, oh yeah, no costumes. It's really hard to make costumes, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. It's really hard to make costumes. Here's the ones we're going to come out with next year. What? Meanwhile, the shittiest and most superfluous 20-piece battle pass of so many cosmetics that you're sitting there going, who the fuck buys all these? But somebody does, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be making them. So this game's monetization, this game's release schedule, this game's stagnant-ass offense, Street Fighter 6 is mid as fuck. That's why I'm barely going to play it this year. I'm just playing Terry until Fatal Fury comes out. And I'm probably going to I'm playing KOF. I'm playing KOF 15 more than I'm going to play Street Fighter 6 this year. I'm telling you that right now. Unless Street Fighter 6 has some kind of crazy balance patch and they get off their ass and actually make it a really good game, which I doubt is going to happen. Because I think they're happy as is, and I don't think it's a great game. Sorry to bitch, but we're trying to sort out the cream from the crop here. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Extremely good single-player game. Actually, matter of fact, I would say single-player, this is probably one of the best fighting games. It's a platform fighter, but it's still a fighting game. Single-player, this is incredible. The roster is incredible. It's got crazy guest characters. It's amazing. Don't even bother with the online. Don't even bother playing this game professionally or playing this game online, because it's a joke. The console does not have an Ethernet port stable. 80% of the people you're playing online are playing on Nintendo Wi-Fi. What? This game is going in C just because it's the game that has worse netcode than this. Which this game has delay-based 2010 netcode. This game has Nintendo Wi-Fi. I should put this in D just for that alone, but the single player is damn good. None of these games are going to have good single player. Mortal Kombat 1 single player was trash. This, I don't even know if this has single player, and this is probably going to be trash too. So this game at least has some redeemable qualities with the single player in the party, and you can play this offline with your homies, you can play with your nephew. Great game. Great game for that. Netcode? Garbage. And most people who want to play this as a fighting game, they're going to be playing online. So that's just not even worth your time. If you want to do that, you might as well learn Melee and play Slippy. Next up, Guilty Gear Strive. I'm giving this one a B, just because I think it's right there with Street Fighter 6 as everybody is glazing this game while ignoring the fact that it's very boring. I think these games are boring because the offense is just too easy. It's too easy just to kill somebody. It's way too easy just to do 1,000,000 damage. There's very little execution required. Please say something good about the soundtrack. That soundtrack carries it very hard. That was one of the reasons I flirted with going back to this game, but then I went back to it and I realized the UI was exactly the same, and I realized they did not change the lobby, they did not change the UI, they did not change the ranked tower system, and there was just they did not change like wall breaks. They made some small patches, and also I was about to play this game, and then they said, oh yeah, they just removed Potemkin Kara throw, and I said, okay, you removed one of the biggest reasons to play the character, then apparently they just gave him They just went back and said, oh, sorry, guys. We're going to give him back Kara throw, and we're going to let him keep the armor. So now he's got a fucking armored Kara Potemkin Buster. What is going on with the balance? So I'm just sitting here like, oh, that sounds fun. Let me go check that out. And then I watch. Anytime I want to know if I want to play a fighting game, I go watch high-level players. Because I want to see what the top tippy top looks like a TNS top 8, stuff like that. Strive looked like cheeks every round. Somebody gets a confirm, somebody gets a 3-hit combo. It was Gold Lewis taking the guy to the wall, throwing his casket once, then you bust through the wall, one mix, you're dead. That happened like 6 rounds in a row. I said, fuck you and fuck this. I'm done. It's over. I'll gladly listen to the soundtrack. Matter of fact, I'm going to download the whole soundtrack so I can play it during other games, because the soundtrack is awesome. I love, what's the Elfelt song? Elfelt song when she does the Jingle Bells, or whatever it's called, Hallelujah? Glory, glory, hallelujah, like she sings that in the middle of the song. That game fucking rules. I mean, that song rules. Potemkin's theme is tight. Faust's theme is tight. There's so many good themes. I like the music a lot. It's fantastic. And they actually, for the most part, they make lyrics work. And Guilty Gear music traditionally doesn't have lyrics, but I like everything about the soundtrack. The soundtrack's pretty great. There's a couple duds on there, but for the most part, fan-fucking-tastic. So that's like the opposite. I would actually put this in A. You know what? Now that I think about it, looking at this a little closer, I'm going to put... No, you know what? This just belongs in A. This belongs at the bottom of A because of the OST. I think if Street Fighter 6, the tipping point for me is that the artistic merits of Street Fighter 6 just aren't really there. Some characters are really, really bland for how cool they look. Like Marisa. She's a character I play, but her moves, like her super arts, are super boring. Am I right about that? I feel like her, it was so uninspired. Like her and Manon. Manon looks cool when you see like pictures of her, and then in motion she just looks so uninspired. Same thing with Marisa. And I think it's the same thing with Kimberly. Kimberly's doing all this graffiti shit, but like, it's just not, it's not interesting. It's like too much. So I feel like the artistic merits aren't as good in Street Fighter 6. Guilty Gear Strive? There's still a lot of artistic merit there. The characters look pretty cool. The music is fantastic. The stages look stunning. The graphics are way better than Street Fighter 6. So I'm going to put this right in the middle of A tier. It's not for me. I do not like the combat. Not at all. It's way more boring than Exert. It's way more boring than Rev 2. I mean, that's 2 different games. What was the old game? R+? Is that the one that got the good netcode and people love going back to? It's got Zappa and Justice and all them. That's R+, right? Plus R, whatever it's called. Solid-ass game. So, Guilty Gear Strive does not do it for me. It's way too stripped bare. This is still like the lame-ass Street Fighter V version of Guilty Gear. And just because the music and the characters are good doesn't give it that bump up to S tier, not even close. Matter of fact, it belongs at the back of A tier. It is not as good as the rest of these in terms of gameplay. Everything else, pretty good, but back of A tier sounds about right to me. I'm trying to give good games props, by the way. I'm trying. It's not easy. Okay, so Tekken 8. Sadly, I gotta put this in C tier, man. Tekken 8 has a lot going for it. The graphics are great. It's got a really good base roster. It's got 32 character base roster, and there's a lot of diversity to be had. But it's got so many issues. It is so exhausting to play. It is so unbalanced, top-heavy bullshit. They just put Clive in the game. The Season 1 Battle Pass was garbage. The Forced Stance Mix is garbage. The heat system is not fun to play with. The netcode is not that drastically improved. The ranked system is bullshit garbage. At least Street Fighter 6, for as bad as it is, doesn't have, like, the Street Fighter 4 ranked system. They're not sitting there with an antiquated system from 10 years ago like, yeah, this is good. Matter of fact, I would prefer the Street Fighter 4 ranked system than what Tekken 8 does, because it refuses to do anything, have any ingenuity or any anti-cheat or anything going for it. It is so old. It is so bullshit. It is now the issue we have is that they tried to implement the thing where if you rage quit, you get a penalty, but the person you're fighting against gets the same penalty. I don't even know if it's true, but I do know that sounds just like Tekken. And then, what else is a big problem? The balance is all over the fucking place. The customization is shit, and then they throw balance patches at you. So the monetization and the customization are shit. Clive is the worst guest character of any fighting game I've ever seen. He does not fit in the game even a little bit. He is the most ridiculously out-of-place character I've ever seen. I thought Noctis looked out of place. Noctis looks like he fits right in compared to this motherfucker. This motherfucker is literally flying around like he's Devil Jin, just sitting there. He doesn't even fight. His sword and his summons do the fighting for him. Why didn't you just put Yuna in the game? Let me stare at some fucking nice-looking Final Fantasy X PS2 era titties rather than this goddamn Virgil wannabe, man. He is whack as shit, and twice on Sunday. It's crazy. It is crazy how poor the Season 1 DLC for Tekken is. I have never regretted buying a Season Pass for a game more than Tekken 8. I didn't get one good DLC character. Not to mention, I didn't even talk about half the other gripes. Let me keep going through the list. The story mode? It's the worst story mode in Tekken history. The worst. The cutscenes are trash. They are so stupid. They are forgiving war crimes. They are doing every anime trope under the bridge. And they are doing it with a smile on their face when they pull plot points out of their ass just to repeat the same things you've seen for 4, 5, 10 games in a row. Oh, look at that. Heihachi came back from the dead. I wonder how that happened. Is it because of some weird moon ritual resurrection? No, it was just some random-ass monk that was walking by the volcano and pulled his ass out of the lava. Are you fucking kidding me? In the story, I'm not even joking, this happens. Leo shows up. I'm pretty sure somebody in Leo's family died, just like Miguel, to Jin's genocidal bullshit in Tekken 6, where, I don't know if you guys remember, he was literally waging a world war. But you know how they forgive that shit in Tekken 8? They forgive it by saying, oh, he's not the man he once was. That is a quote from Lee Chaolan. So in 2024, the major plot point that Harada and Namco is trying to push is we should forgive multi-billionaire bullshit artists for their literal genocide. That's what you're telling me in the story mode. And this is the guy I'm supposed to be playing and excited to play the game with? This is the main character? That is a slap in my fucking face. Harada might as well drop his pants down and piss into my face. And I'm 6'3", and he's a short little dude, so he's gonna need that trajectory. He's gonna need to get 45 degrees. He's gonna need to really be putting his hips into it when he pisses into my mouth because I dared to select the story mode, alright? That game fucking shit in my dinner. It was so bad. It was so bad. I can't begin. Do not even try to platinum Tekken 8, because if you sit there and try to watch the story mode for this game, you will really see how shit it is, and that will shock you. Not to mention the arcade quest, pretty shit, it's a glorified tutorial. What other modes do we not have? Team Battle, Tekken Force. Oh, we got Tekken Ball, wow, that's so interesting. Fantastic, great job, actually do like Tekken Ball. The only reason this game's not in D tier is because the graphics are good and the OST is great. That's the only reason this isn't in D tier. It's still Tekken, they didn't drastically change up the formula. You're still ducking highs, you're still using mids, you're still doing combos, you're still popping rage arts, but this game is full of bullshit and does not have a lot of redemption in sight, because if Clive has shown me anything, it's that the devs do not give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about how bad they're fucking people on the Battle Pass. They don't give a fuck about how bad they were fucking people when they released that stage for $5. They don't give a fuck about how bad people are asking for Julia and Armor King and Miguel and Bob, Marduk. They don't care about Wang, Bruce. There's a million characters that belong in this game, even though the base roster, and they said, oh yeah, we don't really feel like guest characters are great to do. Meanwhile, we're shoving Clive's stupid ass. Now I gotta, Clive's addition to the roster with Victor. And that's another major gripe. The new characters, they suck. Reyna's the only good one. Azucena, bullshit. Lydia, she should have been base roster. Eddie's redesign, same exact character, basically. But worse, now he's even more of a 50-50 bitch. The rage arts all look the same, completely uninspired. It's uninspired. It's full of bullshit. The story was trash. I've got a laundry list long of gripes about this game, and very few things it does well. The only couple things I can say it absolutely does well is a couple characters are insanely fun to play. Kazuya's insanely fun to play. Brian, Yoshimitsu, he feels busted. King is insanely fun to play. Paul is insanely fun to play. Jin is one of the most, as much as I hate to admit it, if it was just his gameplay and it wasn't Harada trying to make me think he's a cool guy and I should accept him as the protagonist of the game, if it wasn't for that, his move list is cool as hell. He basically auto-plays the game and you just feel like a super-powered bullshit artist. But the game is offensively full of issues, and if they don't do something major about those issues in Season 2, I don't see a reason to keep playing this game. If they don't have a major reduction in damage, they need to go further than even Strive. They need to say, we're going to chop damage by 30% across the board. If they do that, I can maybe groove with this bullshit over-the-top combos with Heat, these insanely long combos, these insanely long cutscenes with the Rage Arts, these Rage Drive cutscenes, that stupid Bahamut beam that Clive hits you with. If they can just chop that shit in half. Just chop that shit by a third, please. Cut down on the animations, cut down on the waiting, cut down on the Rage Arts, do something to make the game more fun to play match to match, rather than just staring at all these 50-50s and getting blown up by one mix, or getting the phantom tracking of a bunch of moves that you should be able to step, but you just can't because you dared to even press a button, or you didn't step it perfectly, and now it's going to clip you anyway. Nina's the queen of that, by the way. Go try Nina's moves. You can not step. It is so hard to clean step in Ivory Cutter. I'm surprised Nina players don't just get on and press 1+4 all day. I should do that and try to prove a point. But this game's trash. It is so trash. It's still Tekken, though. I can't give it a D. I cannot fully say it did not go full Mortal Kombat 1. That is the only good thing I can say about it. It didn't go Mortal Kombat 1. As bad as it is, it didn't put the tower, whatever that's called, the crypt mode. It didn't completely shit itself. It didn't introduce some cameo system, tag mini system for tag crashing. It didn't completely shit itself. It almost completely shit itself. It pissed down its leg. That's what it did. But this is my main game, and I don't want it to be my main game because it's not fun to boot up on a daily basis. I'm just really glad I like King and Paul, because otherwise I would be calling this game an abject failure. So, solidly C tier. I can say with confidence that if this game doesn't have some major changes in Season 2, I'm dropping this shit. I'm going to get the high rank I want to get, and I'm quitting. Simple as. Next up, Undisputed. This is really jank, but it could be good. This is actually I'll put the C tier just because fundamentally it's still interesting. I've been waiting for a boxing game to come out and kind of replace the hole in my heart that Fight Night Round 3 left, because it's been so long since Fight Night was a thing. Undisputed looks good, but plays like shit. I don't know if you know about this game, but it's released, but it's kind of still in early access. I don't know how it's actually listed, but it's like a $30 boxing fighting game. It's got a bunch of officially licensed boxers. Canelo's in there, Muhammad Ali's in there, Wilder's in there, Tyson Fury. But it's really jank. It feels awkward. It feels like they're trying shit out. It feels like a game that's still in beta. I don't know if it's been fully released, but it's kind of rough. But they're trying, so I don't want to completely write it off. I just want to put this on here because I think more people should know about it, because I wish there was a really good boxing fighting game that was out. The same way I wish there was a good UFC fighting game out, but I don't want to give EA any money. Fuck them and all of their sports franchises. And second to last, Under Night in Birth, the most recent version. I would call this game a solid A because the music is good, the pace is good. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to call this B. No, that deserves A. That definitely deserves A. Under Night in Birth, I'm going to say deserves A. It's just not for me. I tried it twice. I don't like the roster. I don't like the grapplers. I don't like Waldstein. I don't like the little girl with the gauntlets. It's just too anime for me. The shouting during all the moves, it completely turned me off. And then also on top of that, just something about the way it's basically the same game it has been for so long. It's hard to insert myself into the game when a lot of the combos are so long and the hit stun and a lot of things just make it feel like, not Marvel, but pretty close. It definitely feels a lot like a, not an SNK game, but it feels like a Guilty Gear. But not really in the grid system. It's just too niche for me. I'm not the biggest anime fan. The reason I like Guilty Gear and the reason I'm sad Strive isn't better is because Guilty Gear was the one anime game I really liked because of the aesthetic. Because of the rock metal, because of the characters are cool as hell, because I really liked Potemkin, I like Kumhei-Yun. I thought Zappa was cool, if weird. I really like Faust. I like a lot of this roster. Nobody on the Unist roster. Matter of fact, I'm going to switch them around just because I think the Unist roster is weak.
I just don't like anybody on this roster. I completely acknowledge it's a good game. Actually, if anything, you know who I like on this roster is Akatsuki. And he's in his own game, Akatsuki Blitzcamp. He's cool. So that's the only character I can say I like. I tried Enkidu, whatever. It's not that interesting. But the game has good music. The game has good netcode now. The game's fun to play back and forth. I'll watch a top 8 for this game. That's definitely the case. But playing it, no thanks. I'm good. Anyways, final game. Your only move is Hustle. I have not had a chance to fully dive into this game, but if you don't know about this, it costs $5. It is a turn-based, frame-based stick fighter where there's about 1,000 workshop characters, and they're all fucking busted. This game plays out in turn-based fashion, and then when the fight's over, you play an animation that takes about 30 seconds of the actual fight happening. It is so fun, and sometimes the craziest rounds happen. You need to go on YouTube and look up Your Only Move is Hustle compilation to see some crazy fights. I think this game should be talked about way more. I think this game should be shared way more, and I think if you play fighting games, you gotta try it, because it is really special. I myself have to learn it because I was having a hard time learning it, but I think it's one of those games you just learn by doing. Just go play versus the robot a bunch and see if you can figure it out. But what I saw from videos of this game and what I saw from playing this game myself made me go, oh, this is gonna be... I said, this is really special, and this should be shared way more. Like, this game deserves so much more props. The price is crazy. The animations that play out when you're done with the fights are crazy. The chill back and forth, like hanging with your buddy's nature of doing these moves when you're doing these moves is the best. So if you guys haven't played Your Only Move is Hustle or you don't know about it, go check it out on Steam right now. It's very worth your time. Anyway, that was about an hour and 20 minutes. That's as long as I like my tier list videos to be, so. Happy New Year. I'm going to play some Street Fighter 6 tomorrow. I got to practice Terry so I can start grinding for Master. I'm going to hit the ranks I want to hit in a couple fighting games, and I'm going to get ready for Virtua Fighter 5 and Fatal Fury. So we're going to play Street Fighter 6. We're going to play Tekken 8, but we're going to retire those pretty soon if I can just hit the ranks I want to hit. I think long term I'm going to be playing Virtua Fighter, Fatal Fury, and maybe Tekken 8. We'll see if I can fit Tekken in there, but we'll see how the balance patches look. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for coming by and hanging out for a little bit. I was talking to myself there, but as far as I'm concerned, my viewer count isn't on the screen, so I got about 1,000 viewers at any given time. I want to thank you guys for hanging out this year. Thank you guys for coming by the Brawl Slam or any other videos. And I am going to be keeping those up, so stick around. I think I'm going to switch to hosting a tournament every week. I think it's going to be once a week. It's going to be Murder Monday. So I think stick around if you guys want to see some tournaments. So we're going to have Tekken 8 as the first game, and I'm going to figure out the second game next. I think we're going to make it something fun on Fightcade or Burning or Breaker's Revenge or something I like. But I'm going to do a stick around if you guys want. I think, actually, that's a great idea. I'm going to look into hosting Breaker's Revenge, because that's a game I want to rep. We might do Garu or Breaker's Revenge. We're going to get something retro to play. But come by if you want to play something on Fightcade later for free. We're going to have some fun times. I think I'm going to host some tournaments for those. I might do... Now that I'm thinking about it, I might do that this weekend. Come by if you want to play some fighting games this weekend. I'll see you soon. Y'all have a good New Year's. Stay safe. Don't drive drunk. Love you. Goodbye.